Welcome to my kitchen. Welcome to my kitchen. In today's show, I'll be making these incredible recipes. I'll be making lavash, this soft, thin, flat bread traditionally made from a dough that is formed into circles, oval, or square shapes and baked in the oven or on a hot griddle. I will be also making lavash pizzas with arugula and eggplant. Eggplant is cut into cubes, drizzled with olive oil, roast in oven until soft. The lavash is lined on a baking sheet, topped with mozzarella and parmesan cheese, roasted eggplant, scallions, and cherry tomatoes, baked until cheese is melted. Top with mound of arugula that is tossed with olive oil and lemon juice. Creamy mushroom soup made with two kinds of mushrooms, button and oyster mushrooms, cooked with chicken broth and pureed, garnished with parsley. We'll start off by making the dough for the lavash. For this recipe, I need 2.5 teaspoons of dry yeast, equivalent to 1 envelope of dry yeast. It's gonna go in a bowl of a mixer. To that, I will add 1 cup lukewarm water. Warm water temperature between 95 and 104. We'll let it sit for 5 minutes. Now, to this, I will add 1 teaspoon of salt, half stick, 1/4 cup of melted unsalted butter, 1 cup of milk, you notice that we are using butter and milk for this dough recipe. This is how we can end up with some flakiness in the bread. And then gradually I will add 5.5 cups of bread flour. Lavash is traditional thin flat bread in Armenia, Iran, and some other parts of the northern Middle East. It's used to make sandwiches with it, and even used just with some soup. With also, we're gonna make the pizza that goes with that. Can put any topping on the lavash with some melted cheese, and it will be delicious and incredibly nice texture to the lavash. And now we'll change the mixing attachment into the dough hook attachment to finish kneading the dough. Of course, you can always knead the dough by hand if you like. We'll check on our dough. Look how beautiful. The dough is kind of sticky, but this is exactly how we want it. Looks really good. We'll remove it from the mixing bowl, form it into a smooth ball. And I have brushed a glass bowl with some olive oil. We'll place the dough in the bowl, turn it to coat all surfaces with the oil. We will cover it with some plastic wrap and a kitchen towel, and we'll let it sit for about 1.5 to 2 hours until it's doubled in size. The dough has been sitting to rise for 2 hours. Look how beautiful and doubled in size it is. What I would do now, I will divide it into about 12 to 14 portions, form it into a smooth ball, and dip each one in flour and set it on the side. This will give it even more time to rest. Form it into a nice ball, dip it in flour, and let it sit. What a nice looking dough. Bread has been sitting to rest for about 15 minutes. Should be ready for us to roll out. We will roll out the dough as thin as possible. It's almost going to be paper thin dough. I'm using some flour on the work surface to prevent it from sticking on the work surface. And that should be good. Of course, we can roll it out into round or oval. I like to use some square ones, and then we will use some oval ones. You could roll it out to any shape you like. It will be nice for presentation once we make our pizzas. We'll try to dust off any excess flour on the bread. And I have my griddle preheated already. We'll cook it for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes on each side until pale golden. Of course, using the butter and the milk in this dough, it's gonna make it nice and flaky, and you will see that once the bread is cooking. If you don't like to cook it on the griddle, you can place each one of those loaves on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper and bake it in the oven 500 degrees for about 3 to 4 minutes. It doesn't take any time to bake this bread. It's very, very thin. Look how thin this dough is. You can see through it. It's paper thin. Like using these square rings gives us nice presentation. I believe we are ready to flip the other loaf to the other side to cook from the other side. Only took about a minute and a half or so. Bread is nicely cooked. Should be just pale golden. We don't want to cook it all the way. Look how beautiful they look. This is the square ones. I will make few of the oval shape bread too. Traditionally, lavash are rolled into oval shapes or circle shapes, and they are used to roll up sandwiches, served with soups, and once you leave them out without being in a plastic bag or covered, they will turn really nice and crispy, and you can use it as crackers to dip in hummus, or just use some cheese spread on it. They are really nice to have around for many things to use: breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Using the oval size, flip it to the other side to cook the other side for another minute or so. The griddle is nice and hot and will only take about maybe a minute on each side once it's hot enough for us. This looks good, perfect. You need to cover it immediately with a kitchen towel to prevent it from drying out. We'll cover it with a kitchen towel immediately once it comes out of the griddle. Smells amazing. It smells like you just stepped into a bakery. It's amazing. And now these are the lavash that we will be using to make our pizza with eggplant and arugula. Now it's time for us to make this creamy, delicious, incredible mushroom soup. We will start off by chopping a medium-sized red onion and 3 to 4 garlic cloves. We'll slice the onion. We will puree the soup later on, so it doesn't matter if we end up with chunks of onion for this soup. I like to use the whole onion. If you don't want to use red onion, you could use 2 to 3 shallots. Shallots are much milder onions, and they almost in between onion and garlic, and it's great to use when having it for soups or sauces. It gives you that mild flavor and unique flavor. This is perfect. And I have 3 to 4 cloves of garlic that I will coarsely chop, just roughly. Everything will be cooked and pureed. In a heavy saucepan, I will heat about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil. We'll let it heat for a minute or so. The oil is already heated. We will add the chopped onion and garlic. This might look like it's a lot of onion, but this will be really a great flavor for our soup. We'll add so much to it. Of course, anytime you make any kind of soup, you really have to use onion and garlic, and this is really almost a base flavor for the soup. We'll let it cook for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes until soft. And now I have 1 pound of button mushrooms that I will just slice. If you can find sliced mushrooms, you can buy that too. It's really easy. Of course, these mushrooms, they were wiped with wet cloth. Never wash any mushrooms. Mushrooms are almost like sponge, and they will absorb all the water once you wash it, and then they will be really soggy when using it in any recipe. So just wipe it off with a clean wet towel or paper towel, and this should be fine. And you see there is almost no water inside. So we'll chop all the mushroom. We have all our mushrooms sliced. We'll check on the onion and the garlic. Looks really nice, soft and almost caramelized. To this, I will add the mushrooms. Saute. You can use any combination of mushrooms. I love using the oyster mushroom. Look how beautiful its shape, and it has very unique flavor, much more stronger of a mushroom than the button mushroom. You could use varieties of mushroom. You could use pecorino, you could use shiitake mushroom, you could use portobello mushroom, or any kind of mushroom for this soup. You could also use only one kind or just the button mushrooms if you like. I like to use varieties of different kind of mushrooms. So we'll chop these mushrooms and just go over it real quick. And this will go also in the pot. We'll cook the mushrooms for about 6 to 7 minutes until all the liquid is evaporated. Mushrooms have been cooking for about 7 minutes actually. All the water is evaporated. Now to this, I will sprinkle 3 tablespoons of flour. I will sift the flour, make sure we don't want to have any lumps in our soup. The flour is going to act like thickness for the soup, so it will be nice and creamy and thick at the same time. And then to this, I will add 4 cups of chicken broth. You could use vegetable broth, or you could just use water. Want to make sure there are no lumps of flour in the mixture. We'll bring the mixture to a boil. Mixture is coming to a boil. It's almost getting thick. We will turn the heat down and we'll cover it, and we will simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes, stirring occasionally. We'll check on our soup. Mixture has been simmering for about 20 minutes. Now we'll season the soup. We'll add some salt, about 2 teaspoons of salt, freshly grated black pepper to season, and freshly grated nutmeg. About maybe ½ teaspoon should be good. And then 1½ cups of heavy whipping cream. This will make it creamy and delicious and thick. We'll let it simmer for 5 minutes until slightly thickened. The soup mixture is coming to a boil. It smells incredible and it looks great too. This is going to be a beautiful, delicious, creamy soup. We'll let it simmer for 5 to 7 minutes until slightly thickened. Look how beautiful and thick the mixture is. We'll turn the heat off, and now it's time for us to puree the soup mixture. We're gonna partially puree the soup mixture, not the whole thing, maybe just like. Love using this hand blender. You can blend everything in the same pot you're cooking the soup with. I still like to keep pieces of mushrooms in the soup. I think that should be good enough. I don't want to puree anymore. I would like to see bits of mushrooms, onion in the soup. I will put the lid back on and we'll let it sit to cool off for a few minutes before serving the soup. Our lavash are ready. I use 2 kinds. I use individual kind, just a square and oval shape for maybe 2 people or 1 hungry person. So these are ready. Now I will prepare the topping that goes on the lavash pizzas. So I have 2 large eggplants that I already washed and dried. I will cut each one of them into cubes. Great looking eggplants. They'll go in this serve colander. When using smaller eggplants, you can use maybe 3 of them. Want to make sure we have enough of them. And this is what's gonna make this amazing lavash pizza, is the eggplant that's roasted in olive oil and the other toppings that goes with it. It's gonna be great. Now what I would do is I will sprinkle the eggplant with some salt. Salt will drain all the bitterness from the eggplant, and it's gonna make it more concentrated, and it will be much sweeter. We will let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. Eggplant has been sitting for over 20 minutes. Now we will pat dry all the pieces, trying to get rid of all that moisture that drained out from the eggplant. Look how much water, moisture, and there is more in the bowl here drained from the eggplant. Now it looks ready. What I would do is I will sprinkle, actually drizzle some olive oil on the eggplant. Thus, make sure all the pieces are coated with the olive oil. I have my oven preheated to 450 degrees. We'll roast the eggplants in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes until soft and tender. While we are waiting for the eggplant to roast in the oven, I will prepare the remaining ingredients that goes on top of our pizza. So I have some cherry tomatoes here. I will try to squeeze the liquid from the tomatoes. We don't want to end up with soggy pizza. And I will transfer them in a bowl like that. Should be good. We'll set this on the side. We'll have about 4 scallions that I will chop. We'll chop the white part and the green part. Just roughly chop. And this also will go on top of our lavash pizza. Now we will grate some mozzarella cheese. For a beautiful soft cheese, we need about a couple cups, maybe 2 to 3 cups of coarsely shredded mozzarella cheese. That should be good enough. We have about 2 to 3 cups of coarsely shredded mozzarella cheese. We'll set this in a bowl until we are ready to use it. We'll check on our eggplant. They've been roasting in the oven for 25 minutes. Soft and brown, and they look beautiful. They smell amazing. Now we have all our ingredients ready for topping the pizza, and I'm using 2 square individual size lavash in a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, and I'm using an oval one, maybe enough for 2 people. So first thing I need to do is I will brush the top of the lavash with some olive oil, the entire surface. so easy to make these pizzas, especially if you have some lavash. You can make these and freeze them for up to 3 months, so they will be ready for you just to use any toppings, and then you'll have pizzas ready. So I will have some eggplant on each one of them, few pieces of eggplant. Of course, you can use as much as you want. There are no rules. If you like eggplant, you can use more. If you just want few pieces just to flavor your pizza, you can just use a little bit. And then I will use some cherry tomatoes that squeezed all the liquid from. Make sure our pizza is not that soggy. Perfect. And then I will add some scallions. Again, as much as you want. No rules. Look at these beautiful colors of these vegetables. Looks really good. And then sprinkle some dried oregano on top. It's gonna give it even more flavor. And then lastly, but not least, we'll add the cheeses. I have finely grated Parmesan cheese. I will sprinkle on top, and then some of that shredded mozzarella that we used. Again, if you like more cheese, you can add more. If you just want a little bit of cheese, you can control how much cheese you want to add and how much vegetables you can add to this. And then some red pepper flakes, crushed red pepper flakes, just to give it some kick. And now this is ready to go in the oven to bake for 5 minutes until the cheese is melted. I have my oven preheated to 450 degrees. I'll place it on the top shelf for about 5 minutes until the cheese is all melted. If you don't like to use eggplant, you could use different kind of toppings. You could use zucchinis, you could use peppers, or you could use any kind of vegetables that you prefer to use. Some Parmesan cheese. We'll check on our pizza. It smells incredible. Look at these colors. Look how beautiful. The cheese is all melted. The vegetables are all tender. The bread is nice and crispy and golden. It looks delicious. Now lastly, I have some arugula that I dressed with some fresh lemon juice and olive oil. And this, I'm just gonna put mounds of it on top of the pizza. Gonna add an amazing flavor and garnish and freshness to this pizza. So we will just put some mounds of this. That's how much time we have for today. Today's show, we made these incredible recipes. We made homemade lavash, we made square ones, oval ones, and we used the lavash to make arugula and eggplant pizza, and we made creamy mushroom soup. Thank you so much for coming to my kitchen, and we hope to see you next time with more exotic dishes.